Apparently, people are replacing humans with AI a little bit too early, which I think a lot of people could have expected, but it seems like this is now beginning to happen quite a bit. So here we go.
Since 2023, the fast food chain Taco Bell introduced artificial intelligence at over 500 locations in the United States.
I knew it, because they started getting my order right for the first time in 30 years.
Aim was to reduce mistakes and speed up orders, but in some cases, AI delivered just the opposite, like this frustrated customer.
And what will you drink with that? I want a large Mountain Dew. And your drink?
McDonald's drive-thrus also tried AI, but decided to scrap it because it was too unreliable.
No.
One person had bacon added to their ice cream in error, and another
Nah, that's just a fat person saying it was a mistake. They probably did that on purpose.
had hundreds of dollars worth of chicken nuggets mistakenly added to their order.
Another fatty.
As for Taco Bell, the fiasco has caused them to rethink their use of AI. A recent MIT report found that after surveying 150 business leaders and 350 employees, just 5% of integrated AI pilots are extracting millions in value, while the vast majority remain stuck with no measurable profit and loss impact. In other words, AI implementation fails in 95% of the cases. AI is simply failing everywhere. A few episodes ago, I talked about the current crisis with new graduate jobs. A large part of that was the AI threat.
Imagine going to school for 4 or 6 years, and then by the time, whenever you start school, you're going to get a job, and by the time that you finish your degree, your job's been replaced by a robot. That would suck.
It's true, and happening in
that would
some
really
entry-level
suck.
jobs, especially in the creative fields. What if generative consumer AI continues to underperform in businesses for years to come? In this episode, we'll look at how AI is actually performing once put into the position of taking people's jobs.
I think that AI will never completely replace a lot of jobs, but it will make one person able to do 5 jobs. It will act mainly as a force multiplier.
AI has some legitimate use cases and works well in non-critical areas that don't require 100% precision. Robots, live translation, and even some prototype website builders like Lovable
Of course.
are some examples. But the sentiment is clear. Most people online find it annoying. Everything we call artificial
Virtually,
intelligence
yeah, it's a
today
lot of
was
it.
built on the findings of a 2017 paper from Google. That paper provided a way for AI to focus on different parts of an input sequence simultaneously and determine the relevance of each word to every other word. This innovation, called a transformer neural network, allowed researchers, computer scientists, and later companies to change the world. With this method of transformer neural networks, it turns out by determining the relevance of each word and predicting the next word, it just makes up stuff. We call this problem hallucinations, and it has real-world consequences.
I think the consequences are when people take AI and they don't actually filter it through a human expert. AI can do a lot of the groundwork and do some of the busy work, and then it leaves that time open for the individual to make the actual crucial decisions.
Picture this. You're a business that decided to replace its staff with AI to write up patient documents, fill in patient information, summarize meetings, or do some basic scheduling. But as time goes on, you realize that the AI system makes up 10% of everything that it delivers. But the real problem is, you don't know what it's made up and you don't know what's accurate. All your staff manually have to go back and check everything. This ends up just being extra work for the remaining staff, and ultimately is a waste of time. This is exactly what's happening. Now, the following are Reddit comments taken from those in the workforce who had to take the brunt of upper management thinking that blindly implementing AI was a good idea. Quote, "My company paid for some AI scheduling software a few months ago, thinking that it could free up the accounts team so that they could continue their hiring freeze in that department. Now the accounts team is having to do extra work making sure the program isn't messing everything up. Same experience here. Products sold and demonstrated to be a lifesaver. Ultimately, the staff that used to do the work spend all their time making sure the AI doesn't screw up and help train it. Also, working in a medical/clinical setting, we really don't trust the new file sorting and labeling system. Names, date of birth, insurance data has to be perfect. AI is less than that. It fails at gathering proper demographic information and assigning relevant tasks. Sometimes it thinks the doctor is the patient, or doesn't know where the document was faxed from, etc. And yet another user states that AI was good at taking notes from Zoom meetings, but would make up 5 to 20% of the content, even when hand-fed the transcripts of the meeting. Those who looked over the AI-generated summary realized that some of what was written wasn't even said. All of these disasters make sense. LLMs predict the next word statistically, but they'll never tell you when it doesn't know the answer, or if it can't understand something. A report suggests that 55% of companies regret replacing people with AI. Bank, for example, who fired staff to install an AI chatbot that was so bad they begged for their old humans back. The companies cutting people today in the name of AI will be the ones playing catch-up tomorrow. There's no doubt that AI is excellent at doing more with less. It speeds up processes, cuts down repetitive work, and buys back time.
I think that cutting down repetitive work is the biggest value add that they can have.
All of these failures aren't the full story. There are indeed companies that are extremely successful at using artificial intelligence. The MIT paper said that 95% of companies who implemented generative AI failed in said implementation. The same MIT paper states, quote, "Some large companies, pilots, and younger startups are really excelling with generative AI." They mean startups led by 19 or 20-year-olds.
Yep.
They, quote, "have seen revenues jump from 0 to 20 million in a year."
Because the 19 and 20-year-olds understand the product and the technology that they're using.
So how companies adopt AI is crucial. You can't just slap AI everywhere and expect it to work. It needs thought in its implementation, but in the grand scheme of things, it's still early days for AI, and it'll be naive to think that it'll stay the same forever. All it would take is another groundbreaking paper, a new underlying neural network architecture, and everything could change again.
The internet is changing everything it touches, and at the cutting edge of the revolution is Wall Street.
In the dot-com bubble during the mid-90s, everyone who simply put a .com at the end of their company name saw massive valuations because investors who didn't understand the technology saw them as the future. In reality, these companies had no solid way of making a profit or didn't even have a business plan. When the broader market realized that it was all a smokescreen, the sector crashed. Most companies went out of business, and only a handful made it out and are giants today. So let's compare that to the AI wave of today. Long-awaited release of ChatGPT 5 was a disappointment, and many users even thought the previous version was better.
The people that were complaining about ChatGPT 5 were people that were trying to have an emotional relationship with ChatGPT 4. And ChatGPT 5 didn't add as much flowery language and as much flirting in it that GPT 4 had, so they were crying about it whenever they had to update it because now their girlfriend doesn't call them babe anymore. They were upset for a very specific reason.
In addition, the company was also caught blatantly fudging the performance numbers in some very strange graphs. Incremental rather than revolutionary was the tone. Soon, Meta would announce that it's downsizing its AI division, and this comes amongst a growing chorus of analysts saying that AI is heading towards, if not, is already in a bubble. And next, we have the massive valuations and spending. AI itself has caused a 4% increase in electricity use in the US. The belief is that AI will cut costs by 40%, and that should add $16 trillion to the S&P. But as we've just seen at the beginning of this episode, according to that MIT study, that could be very unrealistic. So this could be the future if AI doesn't improve massively soon. Number 1, business executives and business owners will get frustrated with hallucinations,
40%
useless
unemployment,
solutions, bad code, and a very poor return on investment. Number 2, a lot of the AI gurus like Sam Altman will have to admit that artificial general intelligence isn't going to be achieved by LLMs, and they're essentially a dead end. Number 3, the general populace begins to get sick of LLMs, and we're already seeing it. The absolute flood of AI slop.
I think that a lot of people don't know how much the average normie thinks that those AI videos are funny. Some AI video has 80,000 likes and people think it's funny.
Number 4, in seeing this, the venture capital finally dries up and LLMs become just too expensive to justify. Finally, number 5, after a long winter, new implementations come around that truly live up to the hype promised by the first wave. So just like the dot-com bubble, there's going to be a few winners that rise from the ashes. But if or when it crashes, from here, we see the true artificial intelligence companies that last the distance.
I feel like this is always what happens with technology. It's what happened, remember back with consoles back in the day? Everybody was trying to make a video game console in the 90s, but there were only a handful of companies that actually kept going. Whenever you look at a lot of the previous innovations in technology, you'll see this exact thing happening as well.
So to finish off this
Palm
episode,
Pilots, yeah.
let me end with this. Take a look at this diagram. It's called the Gartner Hype Cycle, and it describes the typical progression of the infiltration of new technologies into society. So where do you think we are? The technology trigger, the peak of inflated expectations, the trough of disillusionment, the slope of enlightenment, or the plateau of productivity?
Sometimes technologies feed into each other. Like I think the iPod and that technology fed into the technology that made the iPhone. And then the iPhone fed into the technology that obviously made what we have now.
Sam Altman and all the other AI leaders should focus their efforts on fixing the hallucinations. The point is, with AI, nobody knows the future. Do you think we're in a bubble and a crash is imminent? Or do you think the next AI innovation is just around the corner? Thanks for
People
watching.
thought he was
if you do
AI.
enjoy it, there's plenty of interesting stuff here on Cold Fusion, so feel free to subscribe.
I definitely agree with a lot of what he's saying here. And I think that AI, you have a lot of people who are investing into AI, but they don't really know what they're doing. And I think that's the main reason why AI isn't really as successful in some of these companies, is that you have companies that are just basically chasing the idea of AI without necessarily thinking about, is this actually useful, beneficial, or providing us with any sort of real value? And so that's really the main thing.